Now we will do a walkthrough of the DE amendment. And if not sure which one of the John, Mr. Walsh, will you begin?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to walk through the one-page, two-sided one-page spreadsheet that is in members' packets, which is essentially a picture of Article 1 of the bill, and the riders in the bill should match the spreadsheet. So, Mr. Chair, beginning on the top of the first page under Supreme Court, the House has included House File 2906 with incorrectly spelled stays of adjudication, sex offenders to register. There's a $182,000 systems maintenance cost for the courts, and that is in fiscal 2018. Moving down to the district courts on line 12, the amendment includes House File 3726 ignition interlock. The second year, there's a $618,000 cost in 2019 and included tails. This is for one judge unit and two support clerks. Mr. Chair, moving down to line 20, the guardian ad litem. The amendment includes the guardian ad litem's request for compliance with mandates of 45 FTEs. The governor's position was $3,667,000 in fiscal 19 and $4 million in tails. The House has the original request for 2019 of $3.667 million, but flatlines the tails. This will be a little bit short of the request in fiscal 2020 and 2021. Moving down to the Board of Public Defense, there were 3 bills included that were fiscal noted by the Board of Public Defense that would include or require additional staffing, and those include House File 2932, the negligent driving with cell phones. That is an $85,000 cost in 2019 and tails of $102,000 per year. On line 32, House File 2906, stays of adjudication, sex offenders to register, is $76,000 in 2019 and $153,000 annually in tails. Mr. Chair, moving down to line 33, House File 2944, sex offenders 25-year supervision, would require $689,000 for additional staffing in 2019 and $2.7 million each year thereafter. Mr. Chair, moving down to the Department of Public Safety, there were 3 bills that were included that have a cost at the Department of Public Safety. On line 42, House File 3296, the Vulnerable Adults Working Group receives $39,000 in fiscal year 2019. On line 43, House File 3375, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force receives $79,000 in fiscal year 2019 and $70,000 in fiscal year 2020 and is sunsetted in 2021. Mr. Chair, moving down to line 46, House File 3726, ignition interlock, has a $135,000 cost in 2019, $125,000 thereafter in tails. This is funding from the Driver Services Fund and not the general fund. Mr. Chair, moving then to the next page, the Department of Corrections. There are several bills. Many of those costs are in the tails. On line 61, the House File 2856, prior offense for DWI from another state, would be $14,000 in 2020 and $36,000 in 2021 is the bed impact of the increased penalties. On line 62, House File 2930, yes, on 62, House File 2932, negligent driving with a cell phone. Again, that one is a small bed impact beginning in 2020 of $14,000 in 2020 and $36,000 in 2021. On line 63, House File 3505, again misspelled, enhanced theft penalty is $14,000 in 2020 and $36,000 in 2021. On line 64, House File 3610, enhanced penalty for assaulting police is $28,000 in 2020 and $58,000 in 2021 for the bed impact. On line 65, House File 2409, modify sex offender grid for child pornography offenses. Bed impact in the tails in fiscal year 2020, $180,000. In 2021, $608,000. On line 66, House File 2906, stays of adjudication for sex cases to register is in fiscal year 2020, $14,000. In 2021, $43,000. On line 67, House File 2944, sex offender 25-year supervision at the Department of Corrections for their probation officers, $500,000 in 2019, $1 million in 2020, and $1.755 million in 2021. Mr. Chair, on line 68, the same bill, the 25-year supervision, for local share, and this would go to CCA counties, is $1 million in 2019, $1.4 million in 2020, and $2.6 million in 2021. Mr. Chair, on line 69, House File 3260, criminal sexual conduct, persons of authority, there's a small bed impact in the tails, $14,000 in 2020 and $22,000 in 2021. Mr. Chair, on line 70, House File 3371, criminal sexual conduct by police for persons in custody, and there is a bed impact of $14,000 in 2020 and $36,000 in 2021. On line 71, House File 3465, criminal sexual conduct, eliminating the relationship defense, a bed impact in 2020 of $28,000 and $72,000 in 2021. Mr. Chair, on line 72, House File 4140 is an escalation of the penalty for repeat patrons of prostitution, bed impact in 2020 of $14,000 and $22,000 in 2021 for a total of $36,000 for the tails biennium. Mr. Chair, moving down to line 79 under the Department of Human Services, House File 1719 had a small cost of $12,000 to the Department of Human Services to update a non-paternity instructional video. And Mr. Chair, on line 88, the House included a bill to increase the dedication to the special revenue fund that funds the post board. There's a $172,000 impact to the general fund in 2019, $199,000 in 2020, and $192,000 in 2021. Mr. Chair, on the bottom line, you will see that meets the meets the target of $7,119,000 in fiscal 18 and 19 as per the budget resolution. And Mr. Chair, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions from members on the spreadsheet?
Mr. Chair.
Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could just get some clarification on the ongoing funding for the public defenders. So on the Board of Public Defense, actually in the bill, it on line 2.16, it adds $850,000 in additional staffing, and then it says that the base appropriation shall be $2,966,000 beginning fiscal year 2020. So is that fully funding the tails of this proposal?
Mr. Chair and Representative Hillstrom, it is fully funding the tails of the fiscal notes that were prepared by the Board of Public Defense. I believe in House File 2944, there may have been some additional needs identified by the public defender for cases involving some of those sexual offenses that could occur beyond 2021. However, it is not common practice that we, or against a practice that we budget beyond the tails years. And if there were additional needs, they would have to come back in the future and request additional funding.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Chair and members, I'm going to walk through Article 2. Article 2 has provisions that relate to the courts. Sections 1, 2, 3, and 4 of Article 2 are all from House File 1719. That's Representative Whelan's bill related to non-paternity action statute of limitations. Sections 5 and 6 of the bill are from House File 3984. That's Representative Crescia's bill modifying the appointment of counsel in juvenile court. Section 7 is from House File 3958. That's Representative Hoppy's bill related to renewal of judgment on consumer credit transactions. Section 8 is another piece from House File 1719, again, Representative Whelan's bill related to non-paternity action statute of limitations. Section 9 is from House File 1281. That's Representative Zerwas's bill related to prejudgment interest on verdicts, awards, and judgments. The language in Section 9 is identical to the language that appeared in the 2017 Omnibus bill, which limited the application to prejudgment interest only from the version of the bill that is publicly available right now. Sections 10 through 13 are all from House File 3677. These are provisions from Representative Lesch's bill related to the compensation for exonerated persons. Section 14 is House File 2855. That's Chair Johnson's bill limiting the amelioration doctrine. Sections 15, 16, 17, and 18 are additional provisions from House File 3677. Again, Representative Lesch's bill related to compensation for exonerated persons. Sections 19 and 20 are from House File 2309. That is Representative Lesch's bill related to tracking warrant clarification. Section 21 is the last section in Article 2. That is House File 3436. That's Representative Knobloch's bill prohibiting the use of audio and video coverage in criminal proceedings. This bill has had a slight modification from the version presented. The version presented in committee allowed multiple individuals, including judges and attorneys, to object to the video or audio recording of a criminal proceeding. That has been limited to only the defendant and the victims. That's the end of Article 2. I'm going to move on and summarize Article 3 now. Article 3 contains provisions that relate to public safety and corrections. Sections 1 and 2 are from House File 2857. That's Chair Johnson's bill related to blue lights on tow trucks. It has undergone a very slight change that clarifies that tow trucks can use a red light, blue light, or both while they are stopped. Sections 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all from House File 3356. That's Representative Zerwas's bill related to the Public Safety Commissioner's authority to suspend driver's licenses. Section 7 and 8 are parts of House File 2934. That's Representative Grossel's bill related to stays of adjudication records being transferred to the BCA. Section 9 is House File 3554. That's Representative Hillstrom's bill related to the amount charged to counties for the cost of juvenile corrections. Section 10 is House File 3375. That's Representative Kunish-Podine's bill creating a task force for missing and murdered Indigenous women. This bill has been modified slightly. It now includes 4 legislators on the task force, and it is now scheduled to sunset after 2 years. Section 11 is House File 3504. That's Representative Zerwas's bill related to gang data. Sections 12 and 13 are additional pieces of House File 2934, Representative Grossel's bill related to stays of adjudication records being transferred to the BCA. Section 14 is House File 3959. That's Chair Johnson's bill related to the disbursement of surcharges on criminal and traffic offenders, increasing the amount that is sent to the post board. Section 15 is an additional piece from Representative Grossel's House File 2934, again related to stays of adjudication records. Section 16 is House File 3611, Representative Grossel's bill related to the prohibition on local officials disarming peace officers. Section 17 is another piece from Representative Grossel's House File 2934 related to stays of adjudication records. Section 18 is House File 3296. That's Representative Keel's bill related to crimes against vulnerable adults, creating a working group. Again, this bill has been changed slightly. It's been amended to include 4 legislators on that working group. Section 19 is a piece of Representative Zerwas's House File 3356 related to the Public Safety Commissioner's authority to suspend driver's licenses. This is the retroactive portion, and it has been changed slightly by amending the effective date. This was at the request of DVS. It is now effective April 1, 2019. And with that change, there was a notification requirement in the original bill that required DVS to send out letters by December 1st, 2018. That date has been moved to May 1st, 2019. Finally, Section 20 is a repealer. That's House File 3554, Representative Hillstrom's bill related to the amount charged to counties for the cost of juvenile corrections. That's the end of Article 3, and Chair Johnson, I'd ask you to recognize my colleague Jeff Diebel for Articles 4 and 5.
Mr. Diebel.
Mr. Chair and members, I'll walk through Articles 4, 5, and 6, beginning with Article 4, the general crime article. Sections 1 through 6 of that article come from Representative Frankie's House File 2932, which relates to criminal vehicular operation while driving a cell phone, or while driving with using a cell phone. We jump to page 42 of the delete all for Section 7, which is Chair Johnson's House File 3610, and this modifies the 4th degree assault statute to increase the penalty for assaulting a peace officer to a felony. Section 8 contains language from Representative Grossel's House File 1481, and this enhances penalties for assaulting medical personnel while they're performing their duties. Section 9 through 11 come from Representative Ward's House File 4140, and this concerns prostitution offenses and the penalties and sanctions that go along with those. Moving to Section 12 of Article 4. This is Representative Sarah Anderson's House File 3503, and this enhances penalties for repeat theft offenses. Sections 13 and 14 come from Representative Zerwas's House File 390 and relate to obstructing traffic. Mr. Chair, that concludes the summary of Article 4. I'll move to Article 5, which is entitled Sex Offenders and begins on page 48. For this article, I'll be jumping back and forth between several bills as they modify the same statutes. Section 1 comes from Representative Grossel's House File 2906, and it requires that a judge who issues a stay of adjudication in a felony sex offense case must put the justification for the approval of the stay on the record. It also requires the court to make records of stays of adjudication in criminal sexual conduct cases available via remote access through the internet. Section 2 contains pieces from 2 separate bills. It relates to the definition of position of authority. The definition is modified and extended to include current and recent positions of authority, as well as the cases where the person assumes the responsibility. And those provisions are from Representative Lomer's House File 3260. There's also a piece of Representative Christensen's House File 3203 in this section, which relates to the position of authority offense for secondary school employees and contractors and volunteers. Moving to sections 3 and 4, these pieces also are from Representative Christensen's House File 3203 and relate to definitions that are used in the 3rd and 4th degree criminal sexual conduct statutes. Section 5 is a piece from Representative Lomer's 3260 on position of authority and updates the reference to position of authority to reflect the changes made in Section 2. Section 6 is from Representative Grossel's 2944, and it provides notice to offenders of first-degree criminal sexual conduct that they are subject to extended probation, intensive probation, as well as conditional release. Section 7 is another section from Representative Lomer's House File 3260 related to the position of authority, again updating the reference to reflect the change in the definition. Section 8 is again from Representative Grossel's House File 2944 related to extended probation, intensive probation, and extended conditional release. Section 9 contains pieces from 3 separate bills and relate to 3rd degree criminal sexual conduct. Again, there's a piece from Representative Lomer's House File 3260, updating the reference for position of authority. There's also a section from Representative Christensen's secondary school employee criminal sexual conduct bill, House File 3203. And finally, it contains a piece of Representative Fenton's House File 3371, which relates to the prohibition on peace officers having sexual relations with persons in their custody. Moving to Section 10, relating to the penalty for criminal sexual conduct in the 3rd degree. This is from Representative Grossel's bill and provides notice to offenders of their obligation and sanctions related to extended probation and intensive probation. Section 11 contains, again, provisions from 3 separate bills and mirrors Section 9. Has a position of authority update from Representative Lomer's 3260. It establishes includes a piece from Representative Christensen's House File 3203 related to secondary school employees and contractors and volunteers having relationships with their students, and also contains a piece from Representative Fenton's police officer criminal sexual conduct bill, House File 3371. Section 12 is another piece from Representative Grossel's 2944 related to intensive probation and extended probation. Section 13 is Representative Barr's House File 2800, which removes a piece of the sexual contact definition that is used in 5th degree criminal sexual conduct, so that It is no longer an exception to that crime to intentionally touch another person's buttocks over their clothing with sexual intent. Section 14 provides, is from House File 2904, which is Representative Grossel's bill, and again provides notice to offenders of criminal sexual conduct in the 5th degree that they are subject to conditional release, extended probation, and intensive probation. Sections 15 through 18 are from Representative Grossel's House File 2944, which relate to the 25-year conditional release term imposed on offenders who commit felony-level criminal sexual conduct offenses, as well as intensive probation and extended probation. Moving to sections 19 through 28. These are from Representative Grossel's House File 2904, which relate to his child pornography penalty enhancements and mandatory minimum sentences. So again, that's section, that bill covers from sections 19 through 28 of Article 5. The final section in Article 5 is a repealer, and that comes from Representative Hortman's House File 3465. And this is the repeal of the marital rape exception. That concludes my summary of Article 5. Pending any questions, I'll move to Article 6, which is entitled Predatory Offenders. This article is comprised predominantly of the BCA's agency bill on the Predatory Offender Registry, House File 3578, with one exception. In Article 3, in Section 3, there is a piece from Representative Grossel's House File 2906. And that piece requires persons who are issued a stay of adjudication for a criminal sexual conduct offense to register as a predatory offender based on that resolution of their case. Otherwise, the entire article is from House File 3578, which was brought to the legislature by the BCA and was passed without amendment. With one amendment from the Department of Corrections related to clarifying the ability for a predatory offender to travel internationally and their duty to receive approval from their corrections agent prior to traveling outside the country. Mr. Chair, I'd ask that you recognize my colleague, Mr. Johnson, to summarize Article 7.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Chair and members, Article 7 contains provisions related to driving while intoxicated. Section 1 is Chair Johnson's House File 2856. This is the bill that deals with the prior offense in another state being included to support a first-degree charge in Minnesota. The remaining sections, sections 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, are all from Representative O'Neill's House File 3726. Those provisions all related to ignition interlock for repeat offenders. There was one slight technical change in that, in these provisions that you did not see previously, and that simply added some clarifying language related to Chapter 171. That does not have any actual effect other than clarifying that the provisions of this bill apply to violations of the driver's license requirements in chapters 169A 52, 169A 54, and the new chapter 171.177. That concludes the summary of Article 7 and the full bill walkthrough. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could get some clarification, either from the author or from staff. On page 61, line 61.27, terms of conditional release, fifth degree crim sex, the felony level, is added under the terms of conditional release. However, it's not referenced in the mandatory 25-year conditional release term on line 60.11 is where that starts. My question is it the author's intention to not have it be there, or was it cross-referencing oversight, or is it the intent that conditional release shall apply but not extending it to 25 years?
Mr. Chair, Representative
Representative
Hillstrom, it would be the intent to have that on there as well.
Representative Hilstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it is your intention that the cross-references should be added then to the 25-year conditional release, and that fifth-degree criminal sexual conduct at the felony level would be subject to 25 years of conditional release.
Yes.
Any other questions from the members? Representative Cornish. Or Considine. Been a long couple weeks.
Mr. Chair, I had a very small wording change that would allow us to prosecute people that were intentionally trying to have infectious disease passed to custody officers and police. I'm not seeing that in the bill.
That's on the general register, is direct sent to the floor.
And we're going to see that on the floor?
I am hoping we do. I have no control over that part of it.
Boy, I would have liked to have seen it in the omnibus bill.
Representative Zerwater.
The Majority Leader's office handles calendaring of bills. Have you made a request for your bill to be calendared?
No, I was expecting it to be in the omnibus bill.
After it got past the General Register.
I must have misunderstood the chair. That was the day they started yelling right in my ear when I was up front, so I probably didn't even hear what he said.
Any other questions from members? Representative Hilstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if we could just get some clarification on the record, just so the public knows before any testimony about when amendments are due and when you intend to vote on this bill.
Amendments are due at 3 o'clock today. We will be going, we'll have some testimony from the people who have signed up today, and then tomorrow we'll mark up the bill. Representative Hilstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so it is your intention that all public testimony should be taken today and that there won't be public testimony tomorrow when we're doing amendments?
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll start with
Mr. Chair, can I, just a quick question?
Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when was the bill posted, if I may ask? Like, when would it have been made available to the public?
It was posted around 1 o'clock yesterday.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.